more aggressive on the offensive end, but this is the kind of
Williams to Divac. Fox, goodbye. Oh, if you don't like that, you don't like NBA basketball.
All right, I hope you had a fabulous weekend. What a week we have. It's the start of the NBA season coming up for you tomorrow. The Kings and the T-Wolves on Thursday. If you are a fan of the 49ers and you can play wide receiver, you might want to try to contact John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan. Boy, Brandon Ayuk, torn ACL, torn MCL, and Deebo Samuel's in the hospital with a form of pneumonia.
Scary stuff for him. That's not good stuff that's been going around. But Grant, it doesn't get any better. It's gotten worse since the preseason in the offseason.
No disrespect to your Seahawks, but they're lucky that division is weak right now because they still have a chance at 3 and 4 to win the division. But one thing's apparent, they can't beat Kansas City. That's for sure.
0-5 in Kyle Shanahan's tenure. You get Patrick Mahomes on his worst day by quarterback rating in his career, and you still can't get it done at home.
Speaking of worst day, Brock Purdy had his worst game as a 49er, and I'm not going to bag on him. The guy's been tremendous, but he wasn't tremendous yesterday.
Yeah, he was protected decently. I just feel like they're not utilizing him to his full strengths, Grant. And I think part of that comes down to the receivers as well. But decision-making in the red zone was another problem. And Grant, special teams pops up again.
Are we 1 week away? Are we 2 weeks away from claiming that the Jets acquiring Aaron Rodgers is one of the biggest disasters of that franchise in a long time?
I think you're probably at least 2 weeks away with the Devontae Adams signing. That buys you a little time. It pushes it out. But you're getting there. If this team doesn't show something, show some response, some fight, it's going to be a long season in New York.
They're 2-5. They're lucky. They get the Patriots coming up this week. So, I mean, if you can't beat the Patriots, you're done, you know?
Yeah, not a good team. And you've set the franchise back. In a way, if this does not work now with Devontae Adams there, I mean, was Robert Saleh the problem, Grant?
No.
We don't know.
No, it doesn't look like it. So Seahawks are in the NFC West. You've got the Lions, the Packers, the Vikings in the North. In the East, in the NFC, who the hell knows? I mean, I got to go with Washington, but Jaden Daniels got rib issues. Don't know about his availability in this coming game. Giants are horrible. NFC South, you know, I still like the Bucks. I'm looking at the AFC, the Bills. You know, the Dolphins, obviously, with the Tua injury, fell off the map. The Jets are disappointing 2-5. The Patriots are terrible. You know, AFC North, how about those Pittsburgh Steelers? That's, you know, Mike Tomlin. Don't ever bet against Mike Tomlin.
You know, I started to think about it in those first, 5-6 series that they had Russ in there, but then they started going to what Russ does throwing the deep ball, and it worked perfectly. And Grant, I would think it's fair to say Russ has lost a step in the run game. So you got to go to the deep ball a little bit more.
AFC South Houston, AFC West Kansas City, and we love talking about it. We also love talking about the NBA. So let's get right to it. Kings will watch Minnesota play tomorrow night. Minnesota will have a game under their belt when they come into Sacramento on Thursday.
Yeah, and the Kings better bring their lunch pail, because if you watch Minnesota at all in the preseason, a lot of pick and roll action, a lot of physical basketball. So it'll be interesting to see how that translates in Los Angeles for them. But it's going to be a good night test for them. If the Kings are going to be able to play up to their competition, it starts on the 24th.
And I think Minnesota will beat the Lakers tomorrow. So I expect them to come in with a win under their belt. They're a better team than the Lakers, and I think they should win.
Anthony Edwards just looks like he's taken it to another level. Even if you watch some of his game in the preseason, he's hitting the jump shot, especially behind the three-point line, at a more consistent rate.
All right, we are very pumped up because Jerry Reynolds will once again be joining us this year at halftime. Ryan's got the pregame. Ryan will be joining me on the postgame. We'll also have Jerry on some of the post games, and we're looking forward to it. This is your coverage right here. If you don't like that, this is where you would need to be for your Kings coverage. We got you completely dialed in beginning on the game action on Thursday.
If you've never been here for a post-game show, you got to get here. Grant's not lying. It's the place to be. Sometimes we've had upwards in the range of 30,000 people. Great chat, great conversation. So make sure you check it out.
And we've got, if you're just joining us, we've got Grant. Listen, we got a rant with Grant. So all you got to do during the show is hit me up with ideas on the chat line, and I will do a rant for you. Also, all right, if you only want to send us messages via the chat, we're happy to do that. If you want to call us, we're very happy to take your phone calls.
Yep, hit us on the QR code. You can just scan that, or we will put the link back in the chat. And I think, Grant, I know what this guy's going to want to talk about with you. We'll let him kick it off. Condog, welcome in today.
You know what? I have a great rant idea, and it's about Lincoln Riley and the USC Trojans, because they have just lost 3 in a row.
Yep.
And 2 of those are to Maryland and Minnesota. And this team looks in shambles compared to what they looked against LSU at the start of the year.
Okay, I totally agree with you, but I want to go back to Georgia and Texas. All right, first of all, Georgia gave Texas an ass kicking, but that reversal after all the debris was thrown onto the field is something that I've never seen before in professional sports. In my opinion, they got the call right. But had it not been for the delay in that game, there's no way they would have reversed that call. Think about that for a minute.
Yeah, totally agree. There is a huge issue with that. And, I've talked with this earlier, but you pretty much let the kid throw a tantrum at the store and you still gave him the candy bar. And now he's going to do it again.
I've never seen anything like that. Ryan, have you?
No, usually we talked offline. I said you got to at least throw a 15-yard penalty there, but still, it's worth the 15-yard penalty if the call ultimately gets reversed. And Coach Smart was right in his comments after the game.
Yeah, Coach Smart loves talking. Yeah, he's doing that. That all the like Saban and stuff, always kind of pissed off even after a huge win, and he's got this team ready to go now.
All right, here's the bigger picture there. Texas at home got manhandled by Georgia, who obviously had that 28-0 deficit that they had to come back from against Alabama in Tuscaloosa, and they eventually took the lead in the 4th. And then Ryan Williams made the big play, and the Alabama won. Alabama now, I mean, think about this. Alabama's got 2 losses, and we're not even done with the month of October. The post-Nick Saban era is not going very well.
I called it.
You did.
I called it.
You did. Give you credit.
Yep, I had them at 8-4, and I still didn't have them making the playoffs even after that Georgia win. I just knew that there was a lot of Saban guys that just weren't going to work with DeBoer's system. It's going to take a little bit for DeBoer to get his type of guys in. Jalen Milroe does not fit at all with his system at all. Ryan Williams is a DeBoer guy. He was one of the guys he did get in, and Ryan Williams does fit great. If you get more guys like that, it's going to turn in a little bit to what we saw from Washington just last year, actually, when he gets his guys.
Well, even
this year is going to be the transition.
Even if Ryan Williams didn't fit in with what DeBoer's trying to do, you fit your damn game plan around Williams. He's too special. You know what I mean? You make sure that he's your focal point of your offense.
Yeah, again, but with them being in the playoff and Saban and retiring late, then during the transfer portal season, you weren't able to get some of those guys.
True.
Just way the transfer portal works. So you did miss out on some of those key transfers that you could have brought in to, again, you had a very good roster, but, key transfers here or there, improve a very good roster to a great roster. That's what we've seen. So, this time he's going to have a full recruiting class and a full transfer portal to work with this time, and it will improve most likely. DeBoer's a good coach. He's a winner, but yeah, I knew this year was just not going to be good for Alabama. Their schedule was too tough. They had a lot of just players that didn't fit with DeBoer's style, and you can see that that they look lost on offense even with all that talent.
With the new college football playoff, it's great. It gives you a little bit more latitude to have more teams in, but the bottom line is you still can't have a loss like Vanderbilt. You can't. You have a loss against Tennessee. You're still in this thing, but you can't do it.
No,
You cannot lose to Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt's better this year. They're better. I mean, they're very respectable this year. You cannot be losing to Vanderbilt.
Right.
no, yeah, no, but it is great looking at this top 25, and I'm seeing, Army, Navy, and Vanderbilt at the end. Come
Yep.
on, that is amazing to look
Yep.
at. Like I want that poster. Like I just want, like, these teams were ranked at, actually. You
Yep.
know, that should be just like immortalized. But honestly, again, though, even if there is a 12-team play, I really don't think there's more than 4 teams that are actually championship material still.
So
season.
I posed this question to both of you. Did this weekend help you learn more about these teams that are at the top of college football, or did it
Yes.
confuse you more?
No, you know what? It made me realize that the first half of the Georgia-Bama game was just a horrible game, a horrible half for Georgia. And the fact that they were able to come back and take the lead in the fourth quarter showed me something. And for them now to go into Texas, to go into Austin and
Right.
kick their ass the way they did, I still think Georgia right now. Listen, if Georgia played Oregon, I would put all my money on Georgia.
Me too.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen either team's full A game yet, though.
Correct.
I don't, because again, Beck still threw a lot of interceptions this game, but the defense of Georgia was able to, pin back, Texas's defense, because Texas's defense was, back pinned up against a 13-yard at one point, the 26. They were Georgia was starting in their own territory a lot, which did not help this Texas defense at all. Sark had to calm Ewers down, put Arch Manning in for a bit, let him calm down, and then put him back in. So I don't think it will be, if they meet again in the SEC championship, I don't think it will be as bad, because they have this tape to go off of, and just, but the Dogs were hungry because they knew they couldn't afford a second SEC loss,
No way.
because LSU and A&M are front running, and even if one of them will lose this week because they play each other, but even then they're still front running after that.
Buddy, always good chiming in. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, I can't wait to hear the rest about the NFL later.
Sounds good.
Yeah, and don't forget, Sean Salisbury comes on Wednesday at 3:00 to talk more about this and the entire NFL. Deshaun Watson done with an Achilles. I hate to use the word karma because I don't like to see people get hurt. I really don't. I don't know Deshaun Watson. I've never met him. I don't have anything to do with the decision to the NFL to allow him in and everything. I don't know. I only know what I read. That's karma, is it not?
It's the definition of it. The only people that have been put in a worse position are the fans. I don't think cheering for an injury, as you said, is appropriate, but that's the only way he was going to come off that field, Grant.
You can't be cheering for a player when he gets hurt. It's the worst thing in sport, and I don't care whether it's on your team or the other team. It's the very worst thing that you can do as a fan. You should never, ever cheer when somebody has an injury. That's the worst thing. I've been bothered by that my entire life. I've never understood why some fans cheer when a player gets hurt. I've never understood that.
Yep. It goes against the spirit of why you are there, the spirit of sport. Now, you asked me about the Jets and the move if Rodgers does not pan out, if they don't win in the next couple of games. It's its worst decision by the franchise. Is the Deshaun Watson decision by Cleveland, all things considered, the worst decision in the history of the NFL?
No, I think the worst decision in the history of the NFL was the Herschel Walker trade with Dallas and Minnesota, because it gave Dallas all of their Hall of Famers and multiple Super Bowls. So to me, that was the worst trade in the history of the National Football League. But the Deshaun Watson's right up there.
The fact that you you take away salary for that first year so he doesn't lose money with the suspended games. Like you said, karma.
There are certain franchises in the NFL that are a mess. Dallas is a mess because they have Jerry Jones as their owner. The Giants and the Jets are a mess. Cleveland's a mess.
Mm-hmm.
Jacksonville won a game, but they appear to be a mess. The Raiders with Mark Davis might be the biggest mess in the National Football League. And boy, they looked horrible yesterday against the Rams. God, they looked awful.
Gardner Minshew, All
Oh,
20 of the Rams points came off of his turnovers. Terrible.
Oh, wow. And the Rams are not very good this year. I thought they would be better, but they were, when they lost Cup
Ravaged.
and they,
Yeah.
huh? Oh, yeah.
Ravaged
I
with
mean,
injuries.
unbelievable, right?
Yep,
Unbelievable.
right off the bat.
But there are so many teams, like, again, no one had Washington at this point, did they?
No, absolutely not. Now, granted, Washington's been doing it the right way. Now that they got Snyder out, they've been trying to rebuild that fan base, get it back. So I'm happy.
Well, they
for
hit a
that
home run
city.
at the quarterback position in the draft. That's where they got better.
You always say that could either hit you a home run or set you back. But yes,
All right,
they did
so
great
you
there.
talked about the Jets, right?
Yes.
At New England this week. Houston at home, tough game.
Tough.
At Arizona, I never know what our Arizona team's going to show up. We're going to find out again tonight.
Yep.
Home Indianapolis should win. Then they have Seattle at home. At Miami, if Tua's back, I still think that they're dead in the water, but you never know. At Jacksonville, not very good. Rams at home, not very good. At Buffalo, home Miami. They got a chance. They got a very easy schedule.
Yeah, they've got to win the ones that they're supposed to win. And they've got to show something more than that, Grant. They've got to dominate some of these games. That offense has got to show some of that spark that it should have. Look at the running back position. You're loaded at the running back position. And now you got Garrett Wilson getting different coverage. Got to find a way. Got to do more than pick your boogers on the sideline and eat up names.
All right, again, good to have you here. Don't forget, Thursday, Game 1 of 82, pregame, halftime with Jerry Reynolds, and postgame show right here. We are looking forward, as you are, to the start of the season. Hey, New Works Plumbing, they've got a fix for you. They are available around the clock 24/7 for all of your plumbing needs and repairs. Just go to sackserviceplumbing.com or call 916-713-1010. New Works Plumbing. They've got a fix for you. And, hey, make that reservation to get to Bennett's, Bennett'sRestaurants.com, Prime Seafood and Steak, Sacramento, Roseville, the West Side Grill in Rockland. Happy hour every day, sips and taste from 2 to 6. It's awesome. You'll love it. Again, Prime Seafood and Steak. Just go to Bennett'sRestaurants.com. All right, now I'm going to say this because I say it every year because I know what's going to happen. It happens in the NFL after week 1, and it's going to happen on Friday when we do the show. Win or lose, there will be massive reaction to what we see with the Sacramento Kings on Thursday. Don't overreact. Good or bad, do not overreact. You need at least a minimum of 10 games. And in my opinion, this year, it will be 20 games before you have a complete read on this team. I say 20 games because you have a key figure in DeMar DeRozan, and you still don't have Kevin Huerter, and you still don't have Trey Lyles. And when they come back, you're going to have to fit him in. So I'm going to say 20 games before you have a full read on the Sacramento Kings this year.
Very well said. Very well said, my friend. By the way, Bennett's, Grant, I don't know if you know this, they are now accepting online orders at Bennett'sRestaurants.com. You don't even have to pick up the phone. Another reason to go check them out. Speaking of the Rams, we bring in good friend of the show, Al. Welcome in, bud.
Guys, I was actually at the game yesterday, and I want to tell you, I was thinking to myself, boy, the crowd's really behaved. I didn't see one fight, a lot of Rams and Raiders mingling, but then I realized why. It's because these two teams set offensive football back 40 years. It was horrible offense. Sometimes there's defense, great defense, and this wasn't. I mean, the Raiders have a solid defense. The Rams are a work in progress, and my Rams defense, they saved the game. Ryan, you said it. 20 points, 3 turnovers, but oh my God! Everybody's just sitting around like this is like it was just horrible. I mean, Gardner Minshew, good Lord, man, he. And we didn't know what happened to O'Connell. It's kind of weird I don't go to a lot of games. So I flew down there with my nephew. He's 33. He's a Raiders fan. So he's wearing his Raiders jersey. I'm wearing my Jack Youngblood jersey. And we're fine, But, you don't always get the information because I don't have the headset on. But O'Connell went out all of a sudden and Minshew's in. And then we found out he banged his thumb, was out for a few weeks. But, yeah, that was not good. But, Nate, congratulations to your Yankees. I know we're talking football and basketball, but
it's been the first time since 2009 with the highest payroll in baseball almost every year. It's about freaking time.
we were switching back between the Bronx Bombers and Georgia, Texas, at my brother's house. My brother lives in LA, so we crashed there and then went to the game on Sunday. And man, the Yankees with that power. I mean, and Stan, he's earning his money. I'm not sure if what his credo is in previous postseasons. So boy, that guy, he's hot. You get a hot player. I mean,
well, nobody's hotter than Shohei Ohtani, who with runners in scoring position is like 18 of his last 22. That's pretty good.
I watched his home run, and from my point of view, I know they reviewed it, but it went high over the foul pole, and I kind of thought it looked foul. But
personally,
anyway,
I'm walking him every time he comes up unless the bases are loaded.
Yeah. How do you and
I am not pitching to him, and I know the Dodgers have a loaded lineup. I'm not pitching to him. And everyone in the stadium can boo me and throw stuff at me. I don't care. I'm not pitching to Ohtani. I don't care if there's 2 outs and nobody on. I'm putting him on. I am not pitching to that guy.
You know what, man? I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, it's like when Barry Bonds was on his streak. I mean, he would maybe see one hittable ball in every at bat. But the nation and the networks and maybe not everybody in America or the world, but East Coast, West Coast, the Yankees and the Dodgers. I mean,
the biggest stars in baseball, Al.
The networks are cracking this. I know the New York Subway Series would have been fun, and they would have definitely had viewers. But the networks, Los Angeles and New York, and the star power, And let me just say, it seems like in baseball, you guys have seen this. I mean, that kid Edmonds for. I mean, it always seems like there's some guy who's flying under the radar, who all of a sudden just comes out of nowhere. I remember years ago, Gene Tennis, who was a catcher for the A's, and he had a huge series against Sparky Anderson's Reds, and the A's upset him because the big red machine was favored. I'd like to hear you guys. Is there a player on either team that you might look to and say, hey, he has an ability, a chance to be like an Edmonds or like a Gene Tennis, somebody who's flying under the radar I think it was that kid Freese for the Cardinals a number of years ago when they played Texas. Who would you say, Nate?
Well, everyone's overshadowed by Soto, Judge, and Stanton. But I think Gleyber Torres could be huge in this series for the Yankees.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if I would put him in the same category as the Freeze or Tennis because he's a better player than them. But I think he could have a really big series. But I think the Yankees are going to have a tough time winning this series personally. But the Dodgers have history going against them because they haven't won in such a long time. But when you look at the Dodgers lineup and you look at that pitching staff, there's no reason why the Dodgers should not win. They're a better team. They should win.
Yeah.
Ryan, you got a under the radar player that you might for either team that you think might have come out and be that guy?
I don't, Al. I had to defer to Grant on that one.
Okay. Well, and anyway, I'm looking forward to it. I will say, Nate, I hate the Dodgers. I'm not a New York fan, but I'll be pulling for the Yankees because I hate the Dodgers more. Just can't stand the Dodgers. So. It's open for the Mets, but I was hoping for San Diego and the Dodgers. Hey, give them credit. They came back down 2-1 in a 5-game series against the Padres. So should be a lot of fun. It's going to be, wow, what a week, man. The Kings start off. And I have one last question. This has been bugging me. Everybody says, and I don't do basketball. I'm not an expert, but help me out. Mike Brown's the unanimous coach of the year. And when the Kings traded for DeMar DeRozan, I thought, just not knowing I'm looking at, look, this guy's a hell of a player, and he's still producing. But they keep saying, I keep reading, he's not a good fit. But guys, isn't it Brown's responsibility to make it fit, to make it work, even if he has to tweak his system?
Yes and no. I mean, the coach has their style, they have their system, and he also has a team that's built around De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis. So it's a very, very good question.
Yeah.
Yes, it is up to the coach to figure out how it works best but it may not be as easy as you seem. So here's the other deal. Anyone that says that DeMar DeRozan's not a good fit, how would they know? We haven't seen it yet.
Well,
Right.
and on top of that, how much does national media really know about this team? Domantas
Nothing.
Sabonis
Yeah.
was not an all-star last year. You know, if you know this team, you know that is a need that the Kings absolutely had to have, which is the mid-range. So he is a decent fit for this team.
Well, thanks, guys, for taking my call. It's going to be a lot of fun. Can't wait to hear you guys. You guys do great. And have a good night, man. Take care.
Thanks, Al.
Yeah, but again, as far as the fit or not fit, a player like DeMar DeRozan is good enough and smart enough that he'll figure it out. Okay, so I'm not really worried about that. I'm more worried about Keegan Murray's inconsistent shooting, and I'm more worried about the bench right now because it's still thin because of the injuries.
Yeah, it's a great point. The injuries, Doug McDermott, while he gives you a little more depth, he's not going to change the final score too much. He's a little bit of a filler. But Grant, even on top of that, the defense, the guys that we relied on last year for defense, it has been a little choppy here in the preseason, a lot of straight line drives. That's got to pick up as well.
You know, I haven't talked with you about Doug McDermott.
Yeah.
I think it's a good signing because there's no risk. Okay.
Yes.
He fills a need that the Kings could use, but players that are available a week before the start of the regular season and aren't with a team, there's a reason why they're available. Players that get moved from team to team to team throughout their career, well, if they were really good, they wouldn't get moved that much.
Yeah.
So I caution Kings fans to put the brakes on. He's a more experienced Sasha Vezenkov.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I look at him.
Yeah, no, it's a very good point. And you got to look at his point in the career. Anytime you're a shooter, you have value. And so for him, I think fit comes down to it. And the way the Kings play is exactly how Doug likes to play the game and has thrived the best in his career. A lot of cutting, a lot of free flowing. He talked about it the other day. So I think that has as much to do with the fact that he was available. This was the right fit. But Grant, he's a guy that's going to give you maybe 50, 60 games a year, 8 to 10 minutes. If he can knock down a couple buckets,
that's perfect.
That's what you need.
Listen, he played in Indiana with Sabonis. So listen, I don't see there's any negative to this at all. I like it. I think it's good. But I mean, it doesn't excite me. It doesn't like knock my socks off. But I think, again, there's no risk to it.
Well, it also, in a way, and Coach Brown talked about this, the spacing on the floor, it indirectly helps some of the spacing, and it commands a little bit more respect when he's on the floor. Now, the question becomes, you used to get that respect with Kevin Huerter. Can Kevin get that back? Because he's that same type of player, sharpshooter, like Doug has been. And
again, it gets underway Thursday. Don't forget pregame, halftime, postgame right here, game 1 of 82. But I think it's going to be 15 to 20 games personally before I have a good read on this team.
Yeah, I would say 25. You usually go 25, but because of the injuries, because of Mike Brown's inconsistencies with the rotation in the past, I think all those things figure into it. Because what about the 2 guard? That's a big discussion going on now. Does Kevin step back into the starting lineup? Is that Keon spot? How is that going to work itself out? So give it a sample size, but we're going to get those comments. The Kings are winning a championship or the season's over after game 1.
Gold says Vezenkov is doing phenomenal in Europe right now. Who cares?
Yeah.
I mean, no, I don't mean that in a disrespect way. So what? Big deal.
Big fish, small pond.
Yeah, exactly.
Gammon, welcome in tonight. You're on with Grant and Rhino.
Absolutely. So glad to be here. I wanted to come in here and I wanted to challenge you guys on a couple of the comments that you made, because I feel like people in the chat and also too the people that are calling in aren't really challenging you guys whatsoever when it comes down to these things. But I'm not a really big fan of when we're talking about Huerter and Lyles coming off the bench, especially when we kind of have a contradictory comment when we're talking about Coach Brown and his mismanagement of the bench. That was not something I ever really saw with Rick Adelman in his tenure.
Who said mismanagement?
I would consider it mismanagement that he has when it comes down to his rotation, which I know has been called into question on multiple reputable Kings websites. And I'm sure on this show too. I just don't have the sound bites, but I think that everyone here can say that Coach Brown has had questionable rotations when it comes down to this team. I don't think that's like it is kind of what it is. You know, everybody has their flaws.
Well, first of all, in my opinion, that's been based on the talent level on the bench. Rick Adelman had a great bench with tremendous talent on the bench. You can't compare this bench to the bench that Rick Adelman had for most of his tenure. It's not even close. It's not fair. I mean, you're talking about, night and day. Mike Brown's bench has been one of rotational change based on necessity, in my opinion, more than criticism. That's how I look at it. But go ahead.
Fair. And that's I think that's sometimes when you have like a difference of an argument, but you both come down to the same conclusion, I think then it can be something similar. And with that, I say I watched what Lyles did on the Canadian Olympic team. And thinking that all of a sudden he's going to be a hero off the bench, or hoping or praying or crossing our fingers and our toes, that's not going to happen.
Nobody's expecting him to be a hero off the bench. Whoever said that? I think you're making too much out of this. We've never said Lyles is going to be a hero off the bench. We just said he makes the bench better. He does. He makes the bench better. I don't look at him as a hero or a star type of a player, but his role, and again, I like to use the word role, is known. He knows his role. When he was playing last year and healthy, his role helped the team. It didn't hurt the team.
And arguably, Trey was not healthy the entire year last year. He was in and out, getting ramped back up and then out again. Your hero off the bench got his bag this year, and that's Malik Monk.
Exactly. And when I'm looking at this team for every different type of sport, one of the things I really liked as far as like basketball, one of the stats that really doesn't get reflected a lot, but we use because it doesn't get on there for Sports Center, but it's really offensive rebounds. And this is a team that doesn't even do well defensive rebounding wise, let alone offensive rebounding wise. So I don't see how Lyles helps with that, especially with how far away he is. When he hits his buckets, it's nice, but when he's cold in the gym, it's not good. And the same thing I have to say with Huerter. Look, his confidence is shot when it comes down to his shot. We got to be honest with what we're saying here. Grant, you said that this team with the bench is night and day when it came down to Rick Adelman's bench. So it's either whatever I'm saying is so far off the trajectory course to where
I think you're making too much out of it personally.
So two things, Gammon. Last year they were 12th in offensive rebounding, and considering they were predominantly a 3-point shooting team, that's pretty damn impressive because it's hard to predict which way
they were 12th.
It's pretty hard to see how the ball comes off. Conversely, they were second in the NBA at keeping their opponents off of the offensive boards. And this preseason, the offensive boards have been good. Now, I can't speak to Kevin Huerter's confidence. Grant can't. You can't. Only Kevin Huerter can speak to that. But what I can say is he gets the brunt of the hate for the missed shots when not everybody is looking at the fact that his looks completely changed. And that's partly due to Domantas Sabonis not attacking the defense. And instead of attacking a spot, you're not getting DHO, clean looks anymore. And so that changed from 22-23. So it's tough to say. And those are why those little areas Coach Brown has had a point of focus this offseason to try to get the Kings more dialed into attacking their players and getting to the offensive boards with their crash zones.
I respectfully disagree. I remember when Doug Christie was called out on his 3-point shooting, and I remember when Bobby Jackson was called out on his 3-point shooting. And those guys spent hours and days logging up like 500 shots each, and their 3-point shots for both of them improved. I will say this about Huerter. I'm not talking about his heart. When his shot isn't falling, he really does make a conscientious effort.
He does.
On the defensive side of the ball. And he really does try the best that he can to be productive. I think that, again, and I know, and I've seen you guys call it on the airwaves, when it's just sometimes if it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, sometimes it is a duck. I always try to talk like I'm on air as if I would to a player's face. And I'm very, very passive. But I have to be honest. I think that his confidence is shot, and some of the ways that he's been talking Again, I don't have the clips, but he's talking as if he's somebody that his confidence has been shot.
So based on what you're saying, why are you criticizing Mike Brown then? Because it seems to me that you're not happy with the quality of the players on the bench, and yet you're criticizing Mike Brown for his rotation. So you can't have it both ways. Is Mike Brown doesn't have a good bench, or is Mike Brown using his bench? Because I'm confused by what you're trying to say here.
I'm really glad that you asked that question, Grant. And here's the way that I would probably put that to you is that when he does have players that are playing off the bench and they're actually playing well and in a high capacity, for whatever reason, he seems to like take them out or shortchange the minutes, or he doesn't put them in the game long enough to really make an impactful difference. This is something I'm going to clip.
So when he got unanimous coach of the year, what was he doing wrong? When he had a healthy bench. Last year, he didn't have a healthy bench. He had a bench that was injured a lot. He had to change the rotation. But the year before, when the bench was relatively healthy, when they had the fewest injuries in the NBA, and they were number 3 in the West, and he was the only coach in the history to win unanimous coach of the year, what was he doing wrong that year?
I would say the difference is when you look at the reason why he was coach of the year, and then you look at the next year, and then there was this big fall off, I would say it'd be the utilization of his corps. He didn't platoon his guys.
I would say it was injuries. That's my opinion, but it's okay.
But again, I mean, just somebody who's again casually watching. But I would say, and I'm going to see this. I'm going to see this again, and I cannot wait till after a post game and we say, boy, he really platooned his guys wrong, and he didn't do the rotations and the substitutions they should have done, because that came up numerous times last season. I'm not an elephant, but I don't forget with everything that happens there. I really do like the signing of Doug McDermott's, but just because he had success with Sabonis, well, we got somebody from the Pacers too who had success with Sabonis, and that didn't work out very well. And just because he's not somebody who's a big risk, this is a team that needs to start taking some big risks, that needs to kind of plot forward. This isn't the Los Angeles Lakers.
They just did take a big. They just did. They just signed DeMar DeRozan. He's a huge splash. I mean, they did. They changed the makeup of their team. Listen, I'm not in love with Mike Brown. I don't think he's like a great coach. I think he's a good coach. I think he has flaws. I've criticized him. Ryan has criticized him.
Davion Mitchell not getting in, Grant, in Game 7.
Game 7. We criticized the hell out of Mike Brown for that against the Warriors. So we're not saying he's perfect, but I think that you are, in my opinion, I don't want to put words in your mouth, you're making the quality of the bench players, to me, seem better than they are. The bench is not very good on this team. It's right now the weak spot.
Well, again, and I'm looking at the way that that Miami, their head coach, the way that he works his bench in, and I'm looking at some other teams and how they get a little bit more. In fact, I'm even looking at the Sacramento Kings coach over there in Denver and their rotations. I'm saying I'm not making, and I want to be perfectly clear, because I don't like to be taken out of context. I'm not saying that Mike Brown is not doing a good job because his quality of his bench depth is low. I think that we all can attest and agree with that. What I'm saying is that there are a lot of game time situations in which he is utilizing his bench incorrectly, and I know that will show its face in a lot of post-game threads.
Okay, well, if it does, then it does. That's what we're here for. That's why we do the show. And I like the fact that you called up before the first game and forecast that's going to happen. You may be right. And if it does, we'll talk about it. We don't dodge anything here. And you can call and the other people can call and we can digest it. But right now, this team, you can't compare this team to last year's team because it's significantly different, because you have a real key piece in DeMar DeRozan that wasn't on the team last year. So I'm going to sit back. I'm going to evaluate this team. I'm not going to make any rash judgments based on the first few games. I think it's going to take 20 games before I have a good read on this team.
Absolutely. And I just want to say that before I called in, I did preface this call that I was going to try and be a little more confrontational.
That's fine.
That's good.
Yeah, and so and
Me
because
too. I like it.
I think there's a 10% of the population that probably feels the way that I feel, 90% that doesn't, but I do want to represent those that don't. I did want to ask this question, and this would be probably the last question that I really have for you guys. Why can't the Kings seem to be able to find a small forward? You know, like I look at the 49ers, it's so obvious. Draft offensive linemen. Why can't this team just get a small forward. Throw your resources at it. Guys, thank you so much.
Appreciate you, Gammon. Thanks for the call. Oops.
Well, they better hope that Dalton Connect.
You're right.
Dalton Connect looks like the real freaking deal. I'm not just going by that one game, but I think
Yeah.
the Kings may regret on passing him. But what's done is done, you know?
Yeah, he's got the makings, the confidence. He's got the release, and he's on a big stage, so that helps too. But the small forward position, Grant, I think that's the one that sticks out because it gets talked about the most, and maybe it's the hardest to fill on this roster because of the style that the Kings actually play.
Again, I'm going to just sit back and watch this team for a while and get a real good read on it. But I like the personnel on this team. I do think that they're starting the year off thin with the quality of their bench. I think that will get better as we go along. And Minnesota and the Lakers, their first two games, and the Lakers, by the way, play in Phoenix the night before the Kings are in LA. So you'll take that.
Absolutely. Every day of the week. And a guy to watch for, he's not going to give you 30 points, but he is going to give you the hustle plays and the stuff that Kings fans eat up. It's Jordan McLaughlin. He's done a lot of good things in this preseason, and Mike Brown has shown some confidence in him.
Don't forget that beginning on Thursday, during the post-game shows and our Kings programming, EDH Motors, Automotive Reimagined, and we'll be doing a rant with Grant. EDH Motors will be sponsoring that. David and Adam, this is a long overdue new concept. Just two guys trying to do something different and better. They offer new vehicle brokerage. They also offer vehicle consignments where they will sell your vehicle for you. And of course, they can buy your car and they will sell pre-owned vehicles as well. Take delivery at their beautiful auto lounge in El Dorado Hills. And you don't have to go to a dealership. You don't deal with the pressure and some of the unpleasant situations in buying a vehicle. I love the concept. EDH Motors, Automotive Reimagined. And if you go to info@edhmotors.com, you'll get a lot more information. That's info@edhmotors.com. EDH Motors, Automotive Reimagined. All right, good stuff. Hey, I will be right back. I got to answer this call. It's important. I'll be right back.
Yeah, no worries. We will go back to the phones. Let's bring John Finch in, channel favorite. Finchy, what's going on today? You are on. Grant and Rhino.
Hey, buddy.
Doing good, buddy. How are you?
Can you hear me, buddy? How are you? I'm doing good.
Got you loud and
Hey,
clear.
That was a good call from Gammon, and I like that he brought up his intensity a little bit. That was kind of cool because that's kind of unlike him to be slightly more confrontational. With that said, Gammon, you're out of your freaking mind. You're bowling. You're calling a strike before there's even been the pins are set up. We don't know anything really about this team yet, and I think our bench is definitely deeper now than it was last year. Granted, it's probably not an extremely deep bench, but we don't know yet. Just knowing that we have guys like Herter, he might start, but if he does come off the bench, our bench is going to be better with him coming off the bench. Monk, we pretty much know 90%. He's going to be coming off the bench. And we know our bench is pretty good with him. He's like our John Barry, who used to come off the bench and he was just as solid as they could freaking be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know, I really quick, John, because I think it's an important.
Oh, bring it.
I think it's an important adjustment. What's up, Napes? Let's bring you back in. To point out, I think this year, if we want to talk about rotations, and I'll kick this to both of you, if De'Aaron Fox goes down for any period of time, to me, there is no question that Malik Monk needs to enter the starting lineup this year. That would be something that would be criticized heavily if it did not happen.
I agree wholeheartedly with that. And the thing is with that also, like I was just saying, Herter, he'll probably be coming off the bench 90%, but he's not the guy who's going to run the point. He's, the shooting guard, maybe the 2 or the 3, not the 1 or the 4. He's limited to what he does. And that's fine because those are places that we need to have guys. So, and I know that, look, some people, like Grant was saying earlier, some people were saying DeRozan isn't a good fit. Well, how the hell do you know yet? We haven't even played one real game. And another thing, people that are good fits or not fits, you don't just come in. It's not like going to a hardware store and buying an 1/8-inch bit and you come back and your 1/8-inch bit works for the hole you need. this is different. These guys got to mesh together. They're not just going to come in and instantly be like that. They got to get better, and then pretty soon they'll evolve together better. It doesn't just happen overnight. Maybe in 3-on-3 pickup, and we're playing at the gym, guys go, oh man, Grant and Ryan and Finch, they were killing it the other night together. The next night they might miss all their threes and shoot 50% from the line. Not me and you, Grant, but that's just how it is. That's just how it is.
All right, buddy. Good hearing from you. Thank you very much.
But hey, Grant,
Yeah.
I'm not getting out of here without talking about a big game we got on Friday between the Dodgers and the Yankees, buddy, because we've been waiting for this one since 1981. I think I was a 13-year-old man back then, but I'm ready for it, buddy.
That didn't count. That was a strike shortened year, so that year doesn't count in my book. You got to play 162 in my book for that to count. So the fact that the Dodgers won that year, we don't count that.
In 1981, Grant?
Yeah, when the Dodgers beat the Yankees, they had that was not a full year, I don't believe. But hey,
listen, Grant, if the Yankees beat the Dodgers, you would be saying we won in 88, okay? I know that. That's how it is. Hey, man, This is going to be so fun. And listen, both of our offenses, Judge against Ohtani, I know they're not arm wrestling, but man, talk about a great freaking series. This is going to be so fun. I can't wait to shoot shit with you guys about it later. And we rarely talk baseball, but right now, it's the time of the year. We got another week or so to do it.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Have a great show. Keep it up.
I've been very open about this. Thank you, John.
Thanks, Sean.
Baseball's turned me off.
Yeah.
I don't watch it that much anymore. I will watch the World Series, but I don't have the interest like I used to. The money in the sport, the disparity, the way the game is played, the specialization when it comes to pitching, starting pitchers now only going 5 innings or 6 innings, bullpen using 8, 9 pitchers, strikeout. The game's turned me off. Now, maybe the Yankees and the Dodgers a little bit different because of their star power.
Yeah.
But I wonder truly, does the rest of the country give a damn about this World Series?
It's a great question. I think they do because of the star power. It is. And you've got good role models, too, for all intensive purposes, guys that do it the right way, and Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani. So I think there is some nuance there. But at the same time, for a baseball fan that watches only the postseason here, explaining why you're having, like you said, the guys off the bullpen start games or see guys multiple times in the lineup, but then you don't want a starter to see them more. It's just really confusing. Yeah, it's too much.
Awful to me.
So,
hey, Sunrise Landing, the newest residential community in Colusa. If you go to ColusaSunrise.com, you'll get all the information from Blazona Development. And again, what they constructed out there with Sunrise Landing. Many models to choose from. Remember now, there's no Melrose. There's no homeowners. Good location, close to I-5, Highway 45, Highway 20, adjacent to the Colusa Golf and Country Club. That's where you'll find Sunrise Landing. Once again, go to ColusaSunrise.com and check out Sunrise Landing. Who do you got tonight in the game?
I'm going Tampa Bay. I know I'm going against the grain, but they're averaging 30+ at home. And, the Ravens have shown a propensity to sometimes not show up. Both teams have bad defenses. I like the way Baker Mayfield's playing.
All right. You've got your 2:00 show tomorrow?
I do. Jerry Reynolds Tuesday. So come on by. Jerry will be joining us. So another good reason to make sure you subscribe to the channel.
And then I'll be on at 8:00. You're welcome to join me talking about all the games that are going on in the NBA. Baseball will get you ready for the World Series if you care, but we'll dial you in more with the Kings and the Timberwolves. Looking forward to it.
Can't wait. Really quick, what's your pick in the second game? Cardinals, Chargers.
I'm going to take the Chargers.
Okay, fair enough.
How about you?
I'm going Chargers too.
Okay, sounds good.
Same page.
All right, I did pick the team that would score the fewest points right this week. I picked the Giants. They only had 3, so I think I won that. If I need a tiebreaker in our pool, okay. Nobody was shut out, right? Was a team shut out?
No, I don't believe so. No.
So I think I if I need a tiebreaker, I got it.
There you go. Well done, Napes. Better than your quarterback. They gave up on the play. Okay.
Oh my God. Stop it. You have a good one.
You too. Thanks, buddy.
All right. Take care, everybody. Thank you so much. Remember, subscribe and thumbs up. Hit it. Thumbs up.